Tai sveiki visi, toliau tęsiam neredaguotą pokalbius ir šiandien turėsim neanonsuotą epizodą, kuris yra aktualią tema. Visai neseniai įvyko pirmas raundas prezidento rinkimų Prancūzijoje. Ir šiaip per visą neredaguotą istoriją mes matyt nesam dedikavę laidos Prancūzijos politikai. Tai visą laiką yra gerai turėti pirmą kartą ir šiandien būtent toks ir yra. Ir tą progą pasišnekėsim su prancūzu, kuris, kaip suprantu, pagal Erasmą buvo ir Lietuvoje. Paklausim jo pačio, o dabar jisai yra ten, Prancūzijoje. Jis yra politologijos studentas, studijuojantis magistratūroje, taip kad manau, kad bus įdomu. So, Paul, I just introduced you that you are in Lithuania and you are a political science student. What else should I tell my audience about you?
Well, you can say that I define myself as a monarchist. So we will talk about the French election, but I don't consider myself as a Democrat. So I can take a few steps back to analyze those things. And I was not part of any party. So, I can be, reasonable. I was not directly part of the campaign, so we can discuss with cold earth.
Yeah. So before we go into that, it's quite interesting. I know one Lithuanian dude who is also sort of a monarchist. I'm not gonna disclose more about him because then it's gonna be quite obvious for some of my listeners whom I'm talking about. But let's say maybe he's sympathizing for the monarchy more than others. What is exactly, like in 21st century, in Europe, and you consider yourself a monarchist? How does that work? And you probably have, some circles of yours, friends, organizations. How do you see Europe without democracy, with a monarchy?
Well, I am a French monarchist, so I would say that this is quite different, for example, from an English monarchist. And I am not standing for I am standing, for a specific monarchy. And in France, we have this movement called Action Française, which means French action. That was during one century the biggest nationalist movement in France, and the leader was Charles Maurras, and basically he was standing for a monarchy not because it was only the monarchy that built France, but because he basically said that democracy was not a system that works. He was saying that democracy is division, democracy is the power of money, and at the end, always, this is the people who is losing, and this is the oligarchs, basically, that lead the country. So only a monarchy is able to lead the country with the national interest in mind, and also only a monarchy can lead the country with a long-term vision. And I think with those French elections, we can definitely see that democracy is not fit to lead the country. So and I will not go into deeper details, but in France, we have, I would say, big regional cultures. And because of the French Republic, those regional cultures were destroyed, and the respect of those regional cultures, but I will not go into those details.
Okay, just one final question regarding this. So, as I understand, you are not for some kind of mix between, the monarch and the parliament. You are for the absolute monarchy.
You can call it absolute monarchy, but I am also for not a centralized monarchy, which would mean that regions would have a great power, and so the people.
All right, so it's like some kind of smaller regional rulers who are, under the the guidance of the general monarch, if I understand correctly, yeah?
More like corporations that would really decide what they think is good for them. But at the end, we would have the king who would unite the country and decide what is good for the country.
Well, all right. This is very interesting. I guess we already have a topic for our next, chat. Yeah, but since we do have a democracy and you have an election and quite an intense one, when you look at the results, basically the difference between the second and the third place is like microscopic. And the guy who's in the fourth place was also running a big campaign, and there was in the social media in Lithuania some flashes about that campaign. Could you just briefly introduce us to those two guys who are left behind? I mean, they're not in the second round. One of them, as I understand, is a nationalist. The other one is a socialist, but you can correct me and go ahead.
Well, I will start with Mélenchon, so the left-wing guy. It is very difficult to really define who he is, because during 30 years, he was part of the Socialist Party as a senator. He had some mandates. So basically during 30 years, he just eat what the system gave him. So he had a very, very quiet career. But 10 years ago, I think, he decided to quit and to pursue with his own party. And he created La France Insoumise, which means unsubmissive France. And already 5 years ago, he made 19%, and he was fourth next to Fillon, which was part of Les Républicains, like the traditional right-wing party. And so he was very close to the second round as well. And during those 5 years, it was very strange. He decided to give up his populist style, I would say, and he was very, very close to Muslims, to immigrants, to wokeism, to cancel culture. He was literally into a cultural Marxism. And we can look at the polls, but during 2 months, it was not working for him. He was doing 10% at most. But I would say since the beginning of the year, basically, he decided to talk about social questions. He decided to go against what Macron did with COVID, because in France and in the whole Europe, in fact, it was very, very harsh. And we had the vaccine passports and things like that. So he was quite against it. And step by step, he climbed in the polls. And last week, he was at something like 15%. And we saw that other leftists decided to vote for him because he was the only one in the left able to potentially reach the second round.
So you mean if he had another few months, he might be in the second round?
He was at 15 in the last polls, and other leftists were at 5 or 2% or things like that. So a lot of leftists decided to vote for him because it was just the useful vote. And that's why he made something like 21%.
Yeah, well, the Google shows even 22. So, he's 1.1% behind Le Pen.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
close one.
Yeah, and it is very strange because during 5 years, he made a lot of mistakes. And as I said, he decided to be really close to immigrants, in fact. And he also said crazy thing. Basically, for example, he said that just before the election, there would be an Islamic attack. And he said that it was a plot. So literally, he said something very, very as a conspiracy theorist, in fact. But apparently, left-wing people didn't care. So he was the only one able to unite the left, and that's why he was so high.
All right. Well, an interesting dude, I could say, from what I hear from you. What about the person that is left in the fourth place, Eric Zaumor, if I pronounce correctly?
And just about Mélenchon, as an example, Muslims, 69% of Muslims voted for him. So it shows that he was really close to immigrants and that he wanted to catch those people. About Zemmour, he is a journalist, a writer, very famous. He was on national TV every day during the week, and a lot of people were watching him. And he was known to be very brave, I would say, because he was one of the few to really say what was going on in this country with immigration, with security, with Islam and things like that. So he was very respected in the right-wing circles, in nationalist circles, and he decided to do his campaign because basically he was saying that Marine Le Pen and his party Rassemblement National were just a big machine to lose. And in fact, that's true because Rassemblement National was founded in 1972 and they never won. So he decided to present himself to the election in order to beat Macron and to have finally a nationalist candidate able to win. And his strategy was to unite the right, because in this country, the right wing is very divided with Les Républicains and Rassemblement National. And Les Républicains, in fact, this is a fake right, because they will never ally with Marine Le Pen, never. They will always vote for Macron. And Valérie Pécresse, which was the candidate of Les Républicains, decided to vote for Macron. So it shows that they will always betray the right. So Zemmour wanted to unite this right with one topic, which was immigration and great replacement. He just wanted to save France from and its people from replacement. However, because of the situation in the country with the COVID and the international situation with the war in Ukraine, it didn't end up very well for him. And also, he made quite a few mistakes, not very big, but it was not good for him. He was portrayed as a friend of Putin. He made some reactions that were not very fit to be president. For example, a few months ago, he made a middle finger to a woman who insulted him. And at the end, he made 7% because people like me, in fact, decided to vote for Marine Le Pen because Mélenchon was too high in the last polls. So there was a risk that Mélenchon could beat Le Pen and be in the second round. So that's it.
So I guess the people that voted for him, they are quite likely to vote for Le Pen in the second round, yeah?
Well, most of them, but a little part of them are, in fact, economically bourgeois, rich, and they really don't like the social stances of Le Pen. And I know a few of them who don't want to vote for Le Pen. And to me, they're just traitors. But that's it.
All right. So if we move to the people, that went for the second round, that are in the second round, at glance, if you would, of course, we know quite a lot about Emmanuel Macron, but yeah, we know from our perspective, it would be very interesting to hear how you, French, as a French person, see Macron and Le Pen in terms of, national politics first.
Well, Le Pen changed a lot between 2017 and now. For example, she decided not to leave EU anymore. She decided not to leave Euro anymore. She decided not to leave NATO anymore. Things like that. So she wanted to be less radical, I would say. And because democracy works like that, it was good for her, because now people are not afraid of her anymore. And Zemmour was a good thing for her, in fact, because now who is the bad guy in this country now? This is not Marine Le Pen, this is Zemmour now. Even if, because she's in the second round now, she is also the bad person, but during the first round, she was seen as someone normal. And she decided not to speak too much about immigration, because everyone knows what she thinks about it. She's against, okay, she wants to put a referendum if she is elected in order to be free to do what she wants. So she decided to focus on the social question. And this was a very good move, because with the war in Ukraine, we saw that, for example, the price of gas and energy went up very quickly. So she decided to talk about those subjects, and it worked. And now for Macron,
I like, your approach. Yeah, give us your best, Macron, resume.
Well, he did 28%. So it means that 72% of French people literally hate him. Those 28%, they are the winner of globalization, and they are the boomer, the people plus 65 years old who don't work anymore and who are protected by Macron during COVID. They are the two, so the rich people, in fact, living in the big cities, and the retired people. They are the two main category of people who voted for Macron and who made him in the second round.
All right. So if before we go into more details about these two, looking at the rest of the candidates, let's say between Macron and Le Pen, we have what? We have a bit more than 55%. Even less. We have around 52. So the rest, we know that from the rest, one half is leftist. Then we have the nationalists. What is the rest in those who got like 5%, 3%, 2%? What kind of political parties dominate there? Are they on the left? Are they on the right? Or should we say some kind of different split? Are they more locally focused, or are they more globally focused?
So you have two communist parties. they don't matter. In fact, they only did like 1.5%, so we don't care. We have one other nationalist, which is Nicolas Dupont-Aignan. He made 2%, and he was really focused on being against COVID restriction. So I think he only did 2% because of Zemmour, because in the last election in 2017, he made 5%. And those 5% were people who are nationalists, but who don't want to vote for Le Pen. But those people voted for Zemmour. That's why he made 2%. And he said that he will vote for Le Pen. So basically, we have a national bloc of 3 candidates, Le Pen, Zemmour, and Nicolas Dupont-Aignan. And they made basically 33%, which is very good because in 2017, this national bloc only made 26, so it's better. And we have also the ecologist who made 4.5, I think.
This is Valérie, yeah? or what's
Yannick Jadot, yes. He will vote for Macron. This is the leftist ecology. And they didn't make a lot because people voted for Mélenchon. So in France also, I didn't say it, but if you want to be refunded of what you spent during the campaign, you have to do 5%. So the ecologists and Les Républicains with Valérie Pécresse didn't make 5%. So maybe that their party will suffer from it. And I think that Les Républicains will be destroyed soon.
So, if I understand correctly, the votes that are from the third place, they are very likely to go to Macron.
This is difficult. Mélenchon said that not a single vote should go to Le Pen, but a lot of people hate Macron. So a lot of people are not going to vote for him as they did in 2017. And there is one single argument for those leftist people not to vote for him. Macron wants to put retirement at 65 years old, 65. And now it is 62. And Le Pen wants to put back at 60 for some people, or to keep it at 62. So if those people are really socialists, they should vote for Le Pen, because Macron is really the globalist, the liberal, that basically anything that they hate, this is Macron. But there is always this anti-fascist front, always. And maybe it will prevail, but I think it will be very close.
Well, it's hard to understand, to imagine like a left winger voting for Marine Le Pen. You know, not in terms of her social politics, but like knowing some context, like her dynasty, let's say. All right, so
that's true, but they can't stand Macron anymore, so they have to make a choice. And socially, Marine Le Pen is much closer, so it would be better for them.
Yeah, very interesting. So, like, you probably have some predictions, like circling in the media. What are those predictions, or they are just saying it's too close to call?
Well, for now, Le Pen is between 45 and 49%, which is really good because in 2017, she was around 40% at most. So I think that she can really win. She can win, but it will be very close, very hard. And one of the key points will be the debate next week. If she wins the debate, and she can win the debate because it will be about what Macron did during 5 years, and he made terrible things. It will be very, very easy for her to destroy Macron, I think, even though he is very good also. He is very good in debate. He can talk quite easily, okay, but he made terrible things, so she can win the debate. And if she wins the debate, I think that she can win the election.
All right. So, in Lithuania, we probably look at Le Pen from two perspectives. Like, what is more important for this political party, Europe or Putin? Of course, it's a bit sarcastic, but like Le Pen's connections with Putin, we heard that she kind of condemned the war in Ukraine, but on the other hand, we heard that she would not, give up any Russian gas or oil, and wouldn't put the people for the bigger price in terms of that. So, what is the situation? How do you see from inside France?
I think that the position of Marine Le Pen is the same as Viktor Orbán. She will put the interest of the French people first. Despite what is happening in Ukraine, despite anything. And I think, yes, Viktor Orbán is the same position.
All right, but like, did she talk anything in the this campaign? What she thinks about Russia? The aggressions, the Bucha masquerade and stuff like that, or it was completely silence because it wasn't a useful topic?
Yeah, she didn't talk about it a lot. She tried to avoid the topic, and in the media, it was more Zemmour and Mélenchon who were attacked on being close to Russia. Even if, of course, Le Pen is she has some connections with Putin. That's true, but for now, she was not very attacked about it, so she didn't very much talk about it. Even if, of course, she condemned the war and everything. She was in the French Assembly when Zelensky talked, and I think that she applauded him. So I think that she tries to have like a moderate position.
Well, what about the debates now? Do you think is it going to be a topic of any debate? The Putin, because we heard some rumors. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a rumor that she even had some T-shirts with Putin that were ready for the election campaign, and then she got rid of them.
Flyers.
Flyers. Oh, okay.
She had flyers, but she kept them, I think, and because on the same flyers. She had a photo with the Polish prime minister, which is not a friend of Putin. So that's why she decided to keep it. And of course, Macron can talk about this subject during the debate because he will say that Marine Le Pen is close to Putin. And he will say that he has the experience and that he has the posture to be the president, because he can handle the war and everything. So yes, I think that Macron will talk about it.
Well, regarding Macron, like in the eastern part of Europe or central eastern part of Europe, like he's like a joke, because everybody were counting how many times he called Putin. Everybody were making memes, from this long table when he was in the meeting. So how does the French see his connection with Putin? Is it does it look like diplomacy, or it's more like a ridiculous doing something?
Well, 1 week before the war, his political party on Twitter posted a picture, and it was written, Macron saved the peace in Europe, saved the peace. And 1 week later, we had the war. So, of course, the all of the people who didn't vote for him are seeing Macron as a joke also. But his supporters really think that he is a great president, that he has the posture to represent France and even the European Union and to talk to Putin and everything. But we saw the result, nothing. And of course, this is a huge humiliation for France, because what he did, in fact, was just what he just said, what the Americans told him to say. So this is not even the French voice, this is the American voice. And in France, we don't like NATO, like at all. So this is not very well seen.
Yeah, so since you mentioned, I was already, thinking to ask you about the NATO. So you mentioned that Marine Le Pen, she was against NATO and in favor of leaving it, as I understand before, and then she changed.
She just wants to leave the center of commandment of NATO, but she doesn't want to leave it completely.
Okay, but we also heard, from Macron that NATO is brain dead, like a year ago or something like
Yes.
that. So what are their positions right now regarding NATO, Le Pen and Macron?
Well, first, Macron doesn't believe in anything. One day he will say something, the other day he will say the opposite. For example, with Algeria, he was like 3 years ago, he was condemning the French colonization, and then he criticized Algeria. So this guy is very paranoid, and he doesn't believe in anything, but he believes in one thing, in fact, which is the EU. He believes in EU, and that's it. So now, after the war, of course, now he believes that NATO is useful now, and that we have to stay in NATO, and that NATO means something. And for Le Pen, she doesn't talk about it a lot, but she wants France to be a bit independent towards the Americans. So that's why she wants to leave the center of commandments without leaving NATO completely.
What about those European forces that were talked, about, like I also not so long ago? Do any of these candidates think that it's a good alternative for NATO, or maybe like not even an alternative, but besides NATO, to have European forces?
Except Macron, nobody believes that it can work. Nobody wants these European forces. And we saw it with Germany, for example. They decided to invest 100 billion euros into military. And the first move they did is to buy American planes. So it shows that it doesn't work, it won't work, and that nobody wants these European forces except for Macron.
So if I understand correctly, the French, like in general, they would want France to take a more responsible security policy regarding army and forces, like just basically build up their own, so they are not dependent on any European or transatlantic partners.
Yes, Mélenchon, Le Pen, or Zemmour, they just want France to be independent regarding NATO, regarding the EU, and they want France not to align with NATO or the EU, but to decide what is good for France. So we have one good example, and it was a few months ago with Australia and the submarines contract. It was, I think, 40 billion euros. And because of the Americans, we lost this contract. And in the French media and in the French public opinion, it was very, very badly seen, and it was not good for NATO. in the public opinion.
All right, so I'm gonna ask this question, which is like probably in most of the Central European people's mind, like how do French people in general see like security topics of the borderlines of European Union, like and NATO, like because we sometimes hear speculations that France would not risk their own security for Warsaw, or not even talking about Vilnius or Riga or Tallinn. How do the media like portray these things in France?
First, I would say that maybe half of the population barely almost don't know that Lithuania exists. Honestly, they don't know what country we have in Eastern Europe. They don't know. They don't care. And so I would say that nobody cares about Eastern Europe. They don't know that there is a particular situation with Russia. And they just want, they just want France to be independent and not to deal with those topics. For them, and I mean them as right-wing people, but also left-wing people with Mélenchon. They don't want to deal with those topics.
So from what I hear is like probably the Macron is the only one who wants to deal with those things.
Macron doesn't deal with anything, in fact. He talks a lot, but he does nothing.
All right. So you mean like there is no big difference, the left or the right? Basically, the main topic is independence of France and sovereignty, and the rest of the stuff focus on
just
France.
Just for Mélenchon, because he's like anti-imperialist, anti-NATO, anti-USA. Mm-hmm. That's why he wants France to be independent. And right-wing people, because they are nationalists, they just want to deal with French national interest. And maybe we can talk about the relationship with Putin. I would say that generally right-wing people in France like Putin. They want a French Putin because he represents authority, he represents Christian values. And
do they know how many second, third, and fourth wives and children he has?
They don't know.
Okay.
They don't know, but they see him as a great leader, as a great nationalist, as someone who really do something for his country. That's why they like him. And if we do the comparison with Macron or any Western leaders, apart from Orbán, maybe, well, that's why they like him so much. And that's why they want France to be close to Russia.
All right. So what about the mood and the vibe regarding the European Union, like in general? Are there any fans of European Union, or is it also mixed, or what is the situation?
Well, I would say that the last election in 2017 was a kind of referendum regarding leaving EU or not, because Marine Le Pen wanted to leave the European Union, and Macron was, in fact, is only talking about the EU. For him, France doesn't exist anymore. It's only the European sovereignty, as he says. So I would say that most of people are supporting the EU, but I think that we are, I would say, the country in Europe where most of the people are against it, maybe with Greece and Italy.
All right. Well, so it's quite interesting to hear, because like France is the core of Europe with Germany, and obviously the circle has circled.
Because from our point of view, we think that Euro was very bad for our economy, for our industry, for our purchasing power. We can see that in the EU, there is no really couple between Germany and France. In fact, this is only Germany who decides what we have to do during the great crisis. So in France, we see the bad aspects from the EU, and we don't have a lot of good aspects. And Macron will say that without EU, we are nothing. Without EU, it will be war. And because it doesn't have real arguments, I think that it reinforces this anti-EU stances.
So let's speculate a bit. If something would happen and France would leave EU, would it go something like the British way, where the Brits, they are always talking about the Commonwealth, and this colonies, ex-colonies, that the connection. How do the French alternative looks to EU? Like, probably quite a few of them.
Well, first, I don't think that we will leave EU like that. I think more about like, if Le Pen is elected, she won't leave EU, but she will go to Brussels and she will say, now I make the rules. Now I decide what I want to do for my country. So if she wants to go against immigration, she will do it. If she wants to do economic patriotism, she will do it. Because in fact, with EU, we can't even do patriotic economy. So I think that she will stay in the EU, but she will do what she wants to do. And I don't think that a Frexit will happen like we had with the British.
So probably, most of the people in Lithuania don't even know, like, what are the core, bullet points for Le Pen in this election. Like, so what are the main goals that she is trying to portray that are important for France?
She is talking about the social question, about economy. This is, she makes a division between the liberalism of Macron, who wants the retirement at 65. She wants it at 60. She's talking about the prices of energy. She wants to lower the prices. Macron doesn't do anything. She's talking about security. She's talking about France. Macron is talking about Europe.
When you say security, what does she mean? Security in terms of security, like security from what? Because it's hard to imagine.
In France, I know that this is difficult to imagine for Lithuanians, but in France there are 2,000 aggressions each day. So
and mostly immigrants, if I understand correctly.
Of course, we are not safe in this country because of immigration. So she's talking about both immigration and security, and it is very linked, of course. And I can relate myself, because in France we are not safe because there are a lot of immigrants. In Lithuania, in 1 year, I've not seen one thing, because maybe there is no immigration. So yes, this is one big point for her, and a lot of people now agree with her. And I would say like 80% of people are now against immigration. They don't want immigration. They understand finally that our problems in everyday life are coming from immigration. So now they want it to stop. And Macron, he doesn't talk about this topic, because, and even more in the second run, because he wants to take the leftist vote. So of course he will not be harsh on immigration. So immigration also is a good point for her. And if she insists on economy and immigration, she can win. But not too much on immigration because she has to take the leftist vote also. So that's why she has to balance. That's why it is very difficult. But if she does a great job, she can win.
Well, you know, from Central European perspective, both candidates look terrible. You know, one wants, you know, Europe, full power, full control. The other one, you know, like doesn't give a shit about European outskirts. But yeah, of course, you know, France is a big country, and
for Le Pen, she's now different because she wants to create a huge alliance of nationalists in Europe with Hungary, with Poland, with Slovenia, with Italy, with a lot of countries. So
it's very difficult right now. You know, the war made some you know,
yes, even between
points.
Hungary and Poland. So yeah,
exactly.
Yes, that's true.
I see. So I was about to ask, you know, about the potential that France would send weapons to Ukraine, but from what I hear from you, it's a very unlikely thing that, you know, airplanes or, you know, air defense systems or tanks or something like that would go from France to Ukraine.
Well, apparently France already sent some weapons. I don't know what exactly, but
so everybody has sent something, you know, but I mean, now like the main topic is those heavy things, and like Germany is kind of holding back a bit, you know. I guess France is a similar position.
I would say so, and it will be terrible for Macron to do it now, because I think that most of people don't want to be involved in this war.
All right, so the election is in less than 2 weeks, if I understand correctly, 24th of April, yeah?
That's it.
All right, so well, I think I can honestly tell you that you just made, you know, the best presentation about the French, you know, election in Lithuania. we can, you know, crown you right now, because I haven't heard any proper, you know, like differences, and you know, well, it's either, you know, Macron is soft, but about the rest, nobody is even talking, you know, in bigger national outlets. So Paul, it was a pleasure. It's good for you because in Lithuania it's almost 11 in the evening, and in France it's 10. So, but anyway, it's quite late, and you know, we appreciate that. So I guess, you know, we will try to reach out for you some other time, and after the election, and yeah, talk about the things that are, you know, you mentioned in the beginning of our chat that you believe, and it's quite because we don't have any of those thoughts in Lithuania, for example, or just maybe among the historians who sometimes dream about something stupid like connecting Latvia and Lithuania, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, so Paul, it was a pleasure. Thanks again, and ačiū visiems, kurie žiūrėjot. Nepamirškit mūsų socialiniuose tinkluose ir ką, iki kitų kartų. All right, so let's stop.